In this video, I want to talk to you about the key to life, and that is self-esteem and how to raise it. Self-esteem is so massively important, and not just for overcoming social anxiety, but basically for living life, for loving yourself, for being able to have a positive impact on the world and just living a happy life. I really believe that self-esteem is basically the key to so much of what we experience in life. We hear a lot spoken about self-esteem, but I really feel for myself until later in life and for my clients, a lot of them don't really understand what is self-esteem. And I think the best way to understand it is really just the relationship you have with yourself. How do you relate to yourself? Are you always criticizing yourself? Are you always putting yourself down? So this can be a very helpful framework to understand it in and to try and increase your self-esteem. As you'll know, when you've got low self-esteem, you often hate the way you look, you hate the way you act. There's this sense of self-loathing, you beat yourself up, you say things and then you think, why did you even say that? You're such an idiot. I was really hung up on my appearance. I had such a problem with how I looked. I was basically disgusted by myself and I thought other people would find me disgusting. It was really like an all-encompassing sense of shame and loathing about what I was doing, how I was acting, how I spoke, how I dressed, how I walked. I just felt extremely cringe, less than, unacceptable. And I think this is a situation that so many people with social anxiety can relate to. When you live like this, you basically have a super dysfunctional relationship to yourself. If you imagine all the things that you say to yourself on a daily basis when you have low self-esteem, how would that affect another person? If you were in a relationship with that person and you went to a couples therapist, the therapist would tell you guys to get separated immediately because it's a severely toxic relationship. You're doing nothing but criticizing the other person. They do 99 positive things and you only focus on the negative thing. You're picking at them about their appearance. Everything they say, everything they do, you put them down, you find a way to criticize it. It is so dysfunctional, and we would never ever speak to another person, a loved one, or somebody else like that. And yet we do it to ourselves. We internalize it. We think it's fine to punish ourselves, berate ourselves, and just wear ourselves down day after day. It's almost like a form of internal bullying that we put ourselves through. So it's absolutely no wonder that our self-confidence and our self-esteem is in complete tatters. This kind of internal battle that's going on and this kind of internal landscape in your mind has so many negative knock-on effects. It stops you from doing so much. It stops you from speaking up in meetings because you second guess everything you're going to say. You filter yourself. You think that's a stupid thing to say. My colleague's going to roll their eyes and think I'm an idiot. That's not a smart enough comment. It stops you from taking action. You just have this self-sabotaging voice that comes up and says, why would you do that? That's not good enough. People have already done it better than you. Why would you bother? It affects everything that we do. It affects the relationships we get ourselves into especially. And there's a very good quote I heard that says we don't attract people that are the right match for us. We attract people who are on the same level of self-esteem as us. And I found this so often. I had such low self-esteem, I would never even go and approach a girl and told her that I was attracted to her. I would always just wait for someone to come to me. And this was usually more confident women who weren't the women that I wanted, but just picked up on the fact that I was shy and nervous and had social anxiety and low self-esteem. And I would just passively be like, okay, yeah, I'll just go along with this. And that is really not a healthy way to get into relationships. You also underachieve at work. If you get work, you will not excel within that role because you're not putting yourself forward. You're not confidently contributing to meetings or standing out and putting yourself forward for promotion. Worse than that, you may well just underachieve like I did for a lot of my life. I was not getting the kind of jobs I should do because I just didn't feel that I deserved that kind of pay bracket, or I didn't feel that I could hold myself in that role. Low self-esteem will affect you and shackle you and hobble you in basically every area of your life, whether you're talking finances, professional advancement, relationships, social dynamics, how you express yourself, the quality, depth, and richness of your life experience. It is really fundamental. It is so important, and I really can't stress that enough. On the extreme side of things, which is what I experienced as well, is it can really lead to problems with isolation, problems with drug use, whether that's illegal drug use, prescription medications, addictions of all sorts, because you don't have the esteem to go and communicate with people, to build friend groups. You become isolated, you retreat into your own little world, you start drinking at home, you start using medication, you're not having sexual relationships or any kind of relationships as such, you become sexually frustrated, you turn to internet pornography. So it can be a very negative downward spiral if you don't start to address your self-esteem and start to build a more healthy, functional, positive relationship with yourself. So how do we go about changing this situation? How do we go about increasing our self-esteem? Well, I think the first point that's very helpful is, as I touched upon earlier, to consider your self-esteem as this relationship with yourself. You'll see definitions online and in books that say it is the regard you hold yourself in. But as I said, I think the easier way to encapsulate this is the relationship you have with yourself. So think of it in those objective terms and look at what you're doing. Look at what you're saying to yourself each day. And I would recommend journaling. I'm working with clients on this at the moment. We get some objectivity on the relationship with yourself. Start to write down, what are my internal scripts? What am I saying to myself on a daily basis? Am I saying, good job, you aced that meeting. That was really good that you contributed and gave that presentation. Or are you just berating yourself for the little things that you didn't do well and just discounting all of the positive? And that's a very common cognitive distortion with people with social anxiety. So get some objectivity. Look at what you're doing. What are you saying to yourself every day? What are you doing to yourself every day? Are you smoking? Are you vaping? Are you lying around? Is that something that you would do for someone to nurture them? What would you do to nurture another person? You would feed them good food. You would encourage them to exercise. You would take them out. So look at it objectively. Write down, what are you doing to yourself each day? What are you saying to yourself each day? And is that a positive way to act? Is that something you would do for another person if you were in a relationship with them? A second point which is related to this is to actually show appreciation for yourself by taking yourself out on a date sometimes. We often think that the way to improve is to just keep whacking ourselves with more and more stick, not giving ourselves any carrot, and just believing that we just deserve a more and more punishing routine to try and improve whatever area we're working on, whether it is actually our self-esteem or whether it's our social anxiety. So I would highly recommend taking yourself on a date. Find something that you would really like to do. Would you like to go to that really cool artistic coffee shop and just read that book for 2 hours in the evening or on a Saturday afternoon? Would you like to take yourself to an art gallery? Would you love to go for a swim and a sauna, which you haven't done? That's something which I really used to do as part of my self-care routine. I would do a park run, do cardio training on a Saturday, and then in the afternoon I would go for a swim, a sauna, a stretch. So that was my kind of way of dating myself and showing some love for myself. So take yourself out on a weekly date, show some appreciation and nurture yourself a little bit. The final point I'd like to recommend here is that you need to actually do things that will make you the kind of person that you do really like. For example, I had a list of stuff I really wanted to do, which I thought was cool. I thought it would be great to get in good shape, so I became a bodybuilder. I got in good shape. I thought it'd be cool to be flexible, so I spent years working on yoga and flexibility. I wanted to be able to do handstands, so I've been doing handstands. There are many things you can do that will actually make you appreciate yourself more as a person. And this doesn't just have to be things like skills and tricks, but even stuff like standing up for yourself, being assertive. That was a huge one for me. I'm now the kind of guy that just tells people, no way, I'm not doing that. Oh wow. And then you objectively look at yourself and like, that's a cool guy. What is the kind of person that you look at and think, I have respect for him, I hold them in high regard, and then try and emulate and learn some of that. Like I say, for me, it was people who are flexible and could do handstands, but also who were strong, who did martial arts. So I learned jiu-jitsu, who had a good balance of masculine and feminine energy. They had soft skills, but they also had hard skills. So I tried to learn those. The harder skills such as being assertive, saying no, putting down boundaries, being able to lead where appropriate, and all of those kind of things, being able to present and give speeches. What do you look at and think, that's cool, I like that kind of person, I would like to be that kind of person? Try and cultivate some of those skills and practices. And then you look at yourself objectively, as I said, using the objective lens that we talked about earlier, and you think, wow, I'm now that kind of guy that I respect and that I wanted to be. And conversely, every time we fold and just go along with something, let somebody else lead us down the wrong path, or we go along with a negative conversation, we're not being true to ourselves, these things weaken us. They chip away at our self-esteem. So you also want to make sure that you don't do things that weaken you, such as giving into cravings for junk food, or indulging in backbiting gossip, or saying things that aren't really your true mind. Learn to say things that are your true mind, do things that you really want to do. These strengthen you and they build respect for yourself, and they increase that positive relationship you have with yourself. So just to recap really quickly, work on your self-esteem as a relationship you have with yourself. Please stop beating yourself down and bullying yourself. Write down on paper what you're saying to yourself on a daily basis. What are you doing for yourself on a daily basis? Secondly, try and show appreciation for yourself. Take yourself out on a weekly date. And thirdly, try and become the kind of person that you really respect by doing the kind of things that you respect and not doing the things that will lower your self-respect and your self-esteem. So I really hope that's useful. These have all come from my own personal recovery journey and from working with clients, so I hope they're applicable to you and I hope they will be of use to you. If this has been helpful, please like this video, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me to try and help more people who are going through these problems, and I'll see you guys all in the next video.